Hey, good evening time, everybody. All right, so we're back on the workbench again. And one of the things that I was going to make mention here the other day was we were going to do a review on the new RCI 2950 DX6. This one is using the RT1 transistors. So to save a little bit of time, most of you are familiar with taking a radio out of the box, so we didn't go through the prolonged aggravation of doing that. What we are going to do, however, is we do have to get into here. I'm going to get it out, and then we're going to go through some of the preliminaries with the radio, some of the features, and talk about the radio just a little bit. So get in here. I'm going to try to take this out and take the one piece I need out, and then staple this little baggie together. All right. This is always the hard stuff, is putting everything back in that same box. Looking for one more piece of equipment if I've got it here handy. There it is. All right, so a couple different things as far as with this radio. I've actually got two of these that have came in back to back for the same customer. So one of which is this one here, is still unadulterated, still virgin. Everything's left just as it is from the factory. The other one, I've already made the required adjustments and modifications that he had asked for. One of the things, though, I wanted to talk to you guys about was, like I said, some of the features, some of the upgrades, and kind of go from there. First off, it's still got the standard Ranger RCI mic. This is one off of my personal radio. Hey, good evening, John. It's going good on my end. But, like I said, they haven't changed as far as with the microphone. One of the big things that they have done is they have upgraded the power cord a little bit. Instead of 18 gauge, which I think was standard, this actually looks like it's about 14 gauge. But it also has a heavy-duty fuse holder on it. So let's see what the specifications here on that fuse is, because it's sure not going to be a 2 amp fuse. And it is rated for 20 amps. So it's definitely a significant change from a little 2 or 5 amp fuse. So that's kind of nice. All right, so that's really all I need out of there. I wanted to, like I said, touch base on the cord that comes with it. Now, what is nice is the fact that it is still using the standard, the standard 3-pin plug that we've all been familiar with for many, many years on Cobra and Galaxy. So they have at least kept that the same, thankfully, instead of using that 6-pin Molex plug that just is junk. So one of the things that I was raffling through there for those of you that have never attempted this yourself or what have you, the radio right out of the box will not work on 11 meters without this little bitty device here. It's a small little IC and some other components that they have in here, and has to be installed in order to go ahead and convert the radio for 11 meters. So once this is done, I believe 10, 11, and 12 is what you'll cover with this. But we'll set that off to the side. We'll go through the features on the front. like I said, just for those that have never owned a Ranger in general. As far as overall, they've kept this radio seemingly about the same for the last 30 years. As far as all the typical buttons, the same format layout on the knobs. It has been kind of hard to change perfection, if you will, to a certain degree. One of the things that they did do for another change is they went to a blue display, kind of like that. Even though I'm burnt out on a lot of the blue, really looks good on this radio, but I think part of it has to do with the fact that they've added a few other small tidbits of color. For example, it says megahertz down here, kilohertz, that's in red, green display there. Here you go. I don't know if nope. I wasn't sure if that one was set up to where it showed AM, FM over here on the side. So that's one of the little things there. You've got your function lock. You can lock it kind of to keep you from moving frequencies. Enter and memory. This portion here is so that you can actually put roughly around 10, 12 channels, because I know that they've got, I think, 0 through 9, and then I think they've got an A and one other one. So, I'll let the customer actually do that. But essentially, you'll go into your program mode, and it'll light up here. You'll adjust your frequency, and then hit enter or memory, and it'll allow you to go to the next, one. So, like I said, kind of neat on that. You've got your up and down right here. So, where we've got our little caret or indicator, it's going to let you move, a couple 1 kilohertz at a time, or multiple, depending on what you're actually doing here. We can also go over here to shift, and now we can move our 28, in this case, down to 12 meters. We're back up into the 10. So if we want to move it a digit at a time, we can adjust here, 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 and here. Essentially across the band, so that you can go ahead and get a faster reference based on what you're trying to achieve. So split, this is used where you can actually split your receive and your transmit. Just a standard Roger beep, noise blanker, which actually works pretty decent in these radios. You get your dimmer control. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 4 different settings that you can set there for dimmer control. I've never believed in the SWR meters in these radios. It's just kind of it's there for whole fill, I guess. You do have a scan feature. I believe this only works on the 1 through 40 whenever you go into the manual mode. So, everything, like I said, is pretty cut and dried here for that. They come with a standard 6-pin plug. Essentially, you've got your 4 that's going to work for your receive transmit, although this has got a built-in receiver. And then they use the ground and 2 other pins in here as far as for your up-down channel select. So, if you decide to wire it, you don't have to have these buttons on the side. You can just manually adjust it right here. So, yeah, you've got your normal squelch, volume control, which right now I'm just hooked up to the dummy load, so we're not going to see a whole lot. I do have the signal generator hooked up, and we are going to go ahead and check the receive on this as far as how low it will actually receive, and that is going to be with your RF gain wide open. So this has got a clarifier in it, which will just move the receive. Your transmit can be moved by changing or shifting the caret all the way over to the last index here, so you can actually adjust it. So if you need to, you can move transmit and receive with this here, or if you just need a little clarity on the receive, some stations are hard to track, so it's easier to actually have a receiver that can hold over here for the receive and still transmit for those that are trying to do multiple conversations. So that's the reason why I try to keep that just as it is. All right, so tried to call him 30 minutes ago, so he's going to have to wait. All right, you've got your standard RF power here, your mic gain that's back behind here. So all four of these have multi-functions, with the exception of your band select, as far as from FM, AM, upper lower sideband, CW, and PA. So, all right, so we got that. Another thing that I noticed on this that is totally different out of the norm for Ranger is the heat sink on the back. The heat sink's actually just a little bit wider, or taller, I should say, on the height. Hello, Art. It's a heavier finned heat sink, and it's also thicker as far as for the main base. So you've got more than a substantial amount as far as to go ahead and draw the heat off from what I've seen already. So, outside, like I said, everything's pretty well just like you would always see. Again, we've got our standard 3-pin plug, which is great. All right, so one of the things we're going to do here, actually before we open this up, let's go ahead and show you what this radio is going to do right out of the box, stock. So we'll start with the RF power all the way up. Put this mic in, and I'm going to change one slug, which is going to be for the PEP. I'm going to pull that 250 out. We're going to put a 100-watt slug in place, so to make life a little easier. All right, so 100-watt slug. So we're going to look at our bottom scale here for our 100 watts of PEP. We've got our 50-watt RMS slug, and we're going to be watching the center scale here. So let's see what she does. All right, so full power out of the box. We're dead keying. Looks like about 16 watts, and we're at 14.39 volts. So 14.4 is what our power supply is showing going into this to come up with that number. So I've got it on AM mode at this point, going into the 5,000 watt bird dummy load. Hello, audio. So kind of anemic. Let's make sure that we got our mic gain wide open. Mic gain, RF gain. RF power and mic gain. Clarifier straight up. RF gains open, squelch. All right, so I'm kind of disappointed on that part of it. Hello, audio. Oh, no wonder. That's a 1,000-watt slug. Oh, sorry, guys. Let's see where I put the 100-watt slug. That's the reason why it looks so anemic. There we go. Let's take away a 0. There we go. Hello. Audio. So about 90 watts PEP. That looks a whole lot better. All righty. I was wondering why that looks so anemic on there. 1,000 watt, 100 amp, or 100 watts. So, yep. Hello. But we really don't have much as far as on the RMS forward movement. All right, so that's wide open. Let's just turn all the way down. Let's see what they got set from the factory. We'll look at our 5-watt slug here. So about 1 3/4 watts all the way down on its factory setting. Hello, Audi. Audi. So about 20 watts of PEP RMS. Hello, audio. Let's see here. Wow, about 3.5 watts on the RMS. That's pretty stingy. Let's turn this up to about a 5-watt carrier. Hello, audio. About 8 bird. Audio. And about 60 PEP, so yeah, not too terribly bad. Let's check out our sideband. Let's see what that's going to do. We're going to start all the way down, and then we'll show all the way up. Hello, audio. 100-watt slug. Audio. So about 38 on the PEP RMS. Audio. About 14. So let's turn that RF power wide open. Let's see what it does here. Audio. Audio. So about 80 watts peak. Audio. And about 22 on the RMS. So that's actually not too terribly bad right out of the box for the sideband. This radio is actually more for sideband than it is on AM. Truth be told, as far as when it was actually designed, I believe. Now we do have to remember that is on 28 megahertz that we're doing this on. Again, we're going off of our 5,000 watt bird dummy load. So it's still seeing the correct the correct format that it needs there. All right, so let's take a quick second. We're going to install the chip into this radio, see what it's doing as far as on the regular frequencies, and then I'm going to plug this one. I'm going to plug the other one that I've got in. It's already tuned and ready to go for the customer. It just saves the time of going through it while we're live here on video. So, all right. So we'll just leave that plugged in. This portion of it's super easy. And it does have a small little tab on it so that you can plug it in the correct orientation. And this plugs directly into the face. And it's just tucked away. Okay. Okay, so now we come up on the 12-meter band. We can either go manual, which is going to give you the 1 through 40. And for those of you that don't know, the A that pops up off to the side is typically for, like here, you got 3A. Some people call it the alternate. Back in the day and back in the 70s and early 80s, a lot of people called it the remote control channel. And the reason why was because those frequencies were set aside for a lot of the children's toys and airplanes and things like that that people were flying back at that time. So that's part of the reason why we've got a couple of oddities that show up as far as on some of the CV bands. So, go up here to channel 20. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time with this one. We'll go to the other one here in just a second. Hello, audio. audio. So about the same, even though we're on channel 20. And let's see here. Let's go back to there. We're going to shift over. Okay. There we go. That way we can actually move it up and down one channel at a time now. But hello. Hello. So we're still getting the same. Over here to AM. Hello, audio. Audio. So peaking roughly 100 peak. Still very, very little on the RMS. Turn it all the way down. We're going to see probably the same as we did previously on 10 meters. Hello, audio. So, like I said, very anemic. Hello, 312. Sorry, guys. Let's see. I need a tinfoil hat. Or has three been doing that? Okay, yeah, you're definitely talking about 3 because you're talking about Florida now. Good evening, Gary, Warren. Hello, Tracy. Anyways, like I said, not too bad out of the box. The biggest thing is the RMS, but like I said, for time's sake, it's really nice. Like I said, they've got 2 of these. So now, what we're going to do is we're actually going to look on the inside of it, and then I'll show you guys as far as on the meter, as far as the receive and all that stuff off this one. The receive actually was, spot on. That was one of the nice things. But going to the inside of this, a couple of the things that Ranger did do with the RT1 transistors, they actually put in 12 gauge power wire coming right off the back of your plug going down to the main board. That was impressive. They've actually put a little bit heavier capacitor. It's fairly long. That's the main reason why they've got it actually set down or bent over like they've got it. They did double the capacitance from the factory. One of the other things that I've seen, and I've got to get with the customer tomorrow before we go through and put the extra expense in this. One of the only things that I seen that I really didn't like about the insides of this from the factory, because that's what this one is, it's still stock sort of, is back over here, which is with the regulator. And I'm really surprised, mainly because of the fact that there are multiple variations that they could actually replace this regulator with. For whatever reason on this model, and I don't know if there is something that special about the RT1 transistors that they're using in this, but they actually went backwards. This is actually kind of ancient technology that they're using here. This one is a 2SB, I believe this is the 2SB, 754Y. 2SB 754 is a 60 watt regulator, and I'm really shocked that that was in this radio. Galaxy, they moved up to what was that? The 2SB 817. And look on my little chart here for some of the upgraded components. So that was probably one of the only things that I really was disappointed in. Um, like I said, that was something that the customer didn't ask me to change, but I am going to talk to him and see whether or not he wants to spend the extra money and have that changed out. In this case, I definitely would. Well, hello, 3, if you're in there. So, hammock dive bomber. Okay. Boy, say that 3 times fast. But anyhow, like I said, that's probably the only thing that I've seen that I really didn't care for as far as on the overall. They did make a few changes to the actual board, and it has to do with the entire transmit section all the way up to the voltage regulator. Now, one of the things on this that I did notice, even after running it for about 20 minutes, the regulator didn't get as hot as what they normally do right out of the gate. So, like I said, I don't know if it has to do with the differences in the bias voltage back here on our output transistors or what. Like I said, I want to do a little bit of research before I give him a call as far as why, why are they using that? Because that's 30 some years old as far as that transistor, and I know that they've came up with way better technology, and other radios are using much higher grade and higher gain transistors than what's in here now. So, like I said, that's probably the only thing. Again, a lot of this looks very similar, but there is some major differences back here. One of the other things too, they actually put right here back for the main feed that goes to the output transistors. They actually put in a 470 UF cap. So they're actually helping to keep the current on the transistors up just a little bit more by adding more capacitance on the other end of the circuit instead of just back over into the feed portion of it. So that was one of the things that was kind of nice. Well, good evening, Kilden. Okay. Yeah, sorry guys, I've been doing more talking than reading tonight, so. Well, you said it was your birthday, so I sent you a few extra just piddle stuff just for your birthday. That way you can't say that I forgot about you. You'd have to add the annoying echo. Now that's something I haven't looked into for, geez, almost 15 years. I don't know if Ranger still actually makes it or not. Ranger used to make a killer echo mic that, basically it looked like this, but it was the echo mic. And it was designed specifically for the RCI 2950s. Didn't take a battery because there's actually already 8 volts going into the microphone itself. So, that might be something if you did. I'd look and see if they still actually have that, because at one time, and you'll notice that it's got a small little control right on the face of it, but they're power echo mics, if you will, or echo mics, actually had a really good sound. They actually took and compressed the board for the Ranger Echo board that I like to use, and essentially just installed it into the microphone. So it was great for that. How backed up am I on radios? That's always the $1 million question. I received my last shipment here just a few weeks ago, and I am booked up now on radio side. I am booked up until after the first of the year on radios. So they'll, other than, some of the new radios that just get a peak and tune, as far as to send something in to have it repaired, you're looking at least at least a year out for repair work on radios. You know, if it's just a normal tune-up, you know, it's not quite so bad, probably about a month. You know, it just depends on my other work as far as how that goes. So, yeah, you can't go wrong with a donkey fart unless you're early. You know, his are worse than the donkey farts. Oh, but anyhow, so let's go ahead and go around the band. We went ahead and did our normal modifications to this. You know, he's not going to be using this for hi-fi, so we did not do a hi-fi upgrade to this. All he wanted was just, you know, peak and tune, modulation kit, and, you know, some real power out of this. So, you know, we've got those modifications done. One of the other things that we did do while we were in here, and it's, you know, just a portion of it that helps, I went ahead and raised up and added a little more solder as far as across the main feed traces here, going from the regulator all the way to the main output finals. And essentially what it amounts to is, from the factory, these traces are very, very, very fine. And when you're drawing large amounts of current like this, essentially you need heavier wire. You know, heavier wire could be laid in place and soldered in with this track. Typically I won't do that, and the only reason why is mainly because of the fact that at least at one end or the other, you still want it a little thin. And reason why is that way it'll actually act like a secondary fuse inside the radio during a catastrophic failure. So once in a blue moon, I have seen some of those catastrophic failures. So, you know, you can strap these with whatever size gauge wire that you want, and it does give you just a fractional amount. But like I said, I prefer to just go ahead and build up with, you know, a good quality solder and let it go with that, because I can still get 98% of what the chassis is capable out of by doing so. All right, so let's plug this in. We're going to show you what this radio will do souped up. So we'll show you the power, then I'll hook up the receiver. Hold on to that end. There we go. I have to replace the end on this coax, I think. I dropped it just right the other day, and it's got a small little dent, and it's right there on the end. So, all right. So let's plug this in. Not going to worry about plugging a speaker in, because we're just going to look at the power. I'll plug the speaker in and go from there here in just a few minutes. All right. So all the way down, we're going to turn our 5-watt slug around and forward, and the only reason why is so that we can actually read the dead key all the way down. He said he wanted to be able to run an amplifier with it, and he wanted to be able to go below 1 watt. So been 88, went through it crazy. Yeah, the old, incredibly old 2950s, they had a lot of problems with solder, a lot of problems. But anyways, moving ahead. Let's see here, AM. All right, so I've got this set at about 3/4 of a watt on the bottom end. So still got a 100-watt slug in there in the PEP and 50 in the RMS, going back to the 5,000 bird dummy load. Hello, audio. audio. So pegging the 100-watt scale. Let's go over here at the RMS, and then I'll pull that out, put the 250 back in place where you guys can see where it's topping out at. Let's see, I didn't send that one to you. Honestly, I haven't even looked in your box yet. It's got your name on it, and it's sitting on the shelf right at the moment. So I have no idea what all you got sent to me. That's a good question, 3. I can't give you a cost on this radio because I haven't even looked it up yet. The customer actually brought these and dropped these off with whenever he come over to pick up his amp here a while back. And yeah, well, I don't know. Like I said, he bought 2 of them, and I presume he bought them probably off of eBay or off of Amazon so that he could go ahead and put them on his credit card. So I really don't know. Like I said, I haven't looked up the actual cost of the radio. I know they are significantly higher. That's the best I could give you at this exact moment. But anyhow, so we're looking at, hello, better than 100 on the PEP RMS. Now this is at 3/4 of a watt AM. Audio 30 bird, 30 watts bird. Now watch when we turn this up to a 4-watt carrier though. Hello, audio. Audio. Now we're pegging our 50-watt scale. We're still burying the 100-watt. So let's go to the next set. All right, so we've got 100-watt now in our RMS. I'll put a 250-watt slug in that. So top scale is peak. Bottom scale on the right is RMS. Audio. So about 110 on the peak. Audio. Audio. About 52. Let's turn this up just a little bit more. Let's see. So that's a 100-watt scale. We're going to turn up to 10 watts. So 10-watt scale. Audio. 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 So there's 100. There's 60 on the RMS. Audio. And we're still at about 110 on the PEP. So we haven't gained any more on the PEP, but we are at 60 watts. So now let's go all the way up on the dead key. That's about 18-watt dead key. Audio. Audio. About 62, 63 on the RMS. Again, our PEP is staying right there on the same. Audio. With my poor monotone voice. So, like I said, power-wise, pretty impressed with it. I still want to know a little bit more about the RT1s. I've got a lot of friends that are techs that work on this stuff every day, and they've got mixed emotions about those. So, I didn't change any of the factory settings on the biasing, so I left the biasing alone. So that was one of the other things too. But I was already told that by some of my other friends. All right, so let's go ahead and take a quick look at this on the spectrum analyzer, which is kind of nice where I get this one in a handheld because I can show everything in one shot. So we're showing from essentially 0 all the way through 50. And that's as far as we're taking it at this point. through 50 megahertz across the bandwidth. Again, we're hooked up to the 5,000 watt bird dummy load for test purposes only. Center frequency is going to be our 27.205. So there's our center frequency here. Very, very low noise floor. Hello, audio. So we've got one harmonic that pops in there, but it's actually staying below 60 dB down, so not enough to even get into the to the main frequency response. Let's go over here. We're going to hit max hold on this. That way we can actually check and see what frequency that little divot is. So there again is our center frequency. Audio. Okay, and we are at 60 dB down. Oops. Let's move this all the way over here. So it's still pretty good compression rate on that. And that is at 32 megahertz. So far enough away that it's not going to cause any issues. But again, even if it was, like I said, we're right at 60 dB down. Typically most of the harmonics that I've seen out of these have still been ranging no more than 70. Part of that could also be just changing to a different type of microphone to even get even less than that. So I wished I was Big Money Bags. So Bell's is 450 with the tune. I wonder what they do as far as on their tune versus mine. So yeah, between 400 to 500. All right. Like I said, this is the first ones that I've actually seen come into the shop. I've not had anybody ask about them, but like I said, I've been pretty impressed overall. We've ran this fairly hard here. Let's go back to run. Take the hold back off. Leave that on. But fire up the FLIR. All right, so set that off to the side for the moment. Reason why is because we're going to go over here to sideband. Let's see what this thing does on sideband here. We're going to turn it all the way down. Audio. Hello, audio. Audio. So about 12 bird is what we're getting out of it all the way down, which that's what I was shooting for, because that's usually a really good number for a lot of the smaller amplifiers. If somebody's wanting to run essentially a 2-pill, which I really wouldn't recommend running this much power into a 2-pill, although there's a lot of people that do on a regular basis. So let's go ahead and turn this up just a little bit. Hello, audio. Audio. Hello, audio. So about 30 on the RMS. PEP. Hello, audio. About 60. I can get more out of this, but I know the customer that actually has this radio, I'm trying to keep him from overdriving and blowing up his equipment. So I tried to set this to where essentially once he goes anywhere from 0 to about 12 o'clock, he should still be in his safe zone, so it can still do a little bit more yet than that as far as on the sideband, but we're going to go wide open. Sideband's the most hungriest, so it's going to draw the most current on sideband typically. Hello, 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 audio. Audio. Hello, audio. All right, so we've been playing with the radio for several minutes, and we've just get through running it on sideband. The side of the radio is actually pretty cold, so let's turn this around. Start looking at some numbers here. So we're looking at, you'll see my finger come into play. And there's almost no heat. It's like 83 degrees. Look back here on the finals. The hottest one's 78 degrees. That's what it looks like. 88. Okay. Hello, audio. Audio. And some of that kind of fools you because you've got the glare off the back of it too, and polished aluminum. But no major heat spikes throughout the radio. Everything's nice and cool. You're going to see orange spots, which I'm trying to get it to where the camera doesn't have quite so much glare on it here for you guys. You can kind of see what's going on here. But like I said, just a nice even temper. That I was really impressed with. Again, especially considering the fact that they're using a 60-watt transistor back over there. Like I said, that's one of the things that I wouldn't have. Let's go ahead and shut the spectrum analyzer off and set it off to the side here. But yeah, like I said, that's kind of where we're at on that. I mean, I'm impressed with the radio. As far as for what it's done, and they've got, like I said, a few changes in it. I guess they're okay. It's one of those where we'll just have to actually play with the circuitry just a little bit different with the RT1s in it. I don't know if this is going to go the way of the dinosaur as far as be here one day and go on the next, or if this is what everything's going to essentially go to at some point. So, at this time, that's pretty, it's pretty impressive the way it is. Bias voltage, like I said, I know that they run a different bias voltage than typically your IRF 520s, 13N10s, or the 2030s that are most commonly used today as far as for output finals. So, overall, I still give the radio a thumbs up. There is a few definite upgrades that they've already done from the factory that is kind of nice. We could still actually go back and increase just a little bit more back here if we'd like to. The other nice thing is, provided that we don't go too crazy on physical size, we can actually even go back and upgrade right here for the main output as well, where they've got the 470 at. So, that was one of the little things that I found kind of impressive is, that they've actually added just a little extra capacitance up here. It was one of those I wasn't sure how it would actually change as far as with the circuitry on some of the other settings, but apparently here they've got it down pat. Well, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if these are going to be cost $300 on a 10-watt slug. It'll do 300 watts. On a 10-watt slug, it'll do 300 watts. Oh God. But yeah, like I said, I mean, it's impressive, but at the same time, like I said, I know what a lot of the techs that I know have been saying about these as far as the RT1s. Like I said, I'm not sold on them just from, the other guys that I know have got 40 plus years, and this is all they've done for the last 40 years. So, and they actually do and they're actually doing work as far as in relationship to the repair centers. So it's one of those that I'm not sure if it's in the circuitry or if it's the fact that they are just kind of a fragile transistor. That's yet to be seen. But as far as the radio, like I said, pretty impressed with it. It's definitely something that will go ahead and keep up with the Striker as far as on the output power. It'll actually exceed the power whenever you're looking at the RMS side of it. So that right there is kind of impressive, and they're still doing it with just three three typical finals. You've got your one driver that's off here to the one side, and then you've got your three back here. I haven't looked in complete depth. I think the way they've got this set up is they've got one driving another one that's driving the other two. I think is how they've got the format set up on this. I will have to find a set of schematics for that, which I tried earlier today and didn't have any good luck. So it's one of those that I'll have to make some calls with one of my buddies up at Ranger and see if I can't get some info on this radio, depending on whether or not they're willing to release that. So anyways, like I said, hopefully you guys kind of enjoyed that. Like I said, overall, pretty well impressed with it. I've always loved the face on the 2950s, especially since they came out with the CD series. I've still got one. I got to get it fixed, but yeah, it's been sitting over there for a year, but I can't get to my own stuff for working for everybody else. Alrighty, guys. Well, I appreciate your time on this. Like I said, I'm going to take the other one. I'm going to get it tuned up, and then depending on where I'm at yet this evening, I may try to go ahead and shoot another video, but wanted to get this one in here, show you guys as far as on the spectrum analyzer what it's doing, show you kind of a before and after on one of these. Like I said, the only other thing that I haven't done, and I'll do that here real quick before I leave you guys. Get my fat fingers in there. Like that. And just like always, they've got killer receive. Turn that tone down here for just a moment. All right. So let's take this 0.001 microvolts. All right, so we're going to start with essentially 0.1 microvolts. Or excuse me, 1 microvolt. And we're going to start turning it down. 0.3, 0.2. I still hear it in there. Let's see here. We've just got our ANL on. So let's take both of those off to start with. We've still got a tone at 0.2, 0.1 is almost non-existent. So that's a good thing. So 0.2 is where it's starting to hear at. So you won't pick up a lot of the excess trash that you will with some of the older versions. And noise blanker. Now, noise blanker. Let's go up here to 1. And let's see what kind of bandwidth it's got here. So that's a 1,000 kilohertz tone. See, there's 100. 100 is just barely in there, which that's better than a lot of the Cobras, because usually it's around 200 to 250 before when you drop out. So not too terribly bad. And it does go up to 8,000 kilohertz. So that's very impressive on the high end. So very little will need to be done to this as far as on the hi-fi in order to get the nice broadband. Essentially just a few minor changes on this for somebody that wants the lower, the lower end. But as far as on the higher frequency response, that is actually amazing to be able to go up all the way up to 8,000. The human ear, I think, is nice hearing test. Yep. I didn't want to keep it for very long just because that is a very annoying tone. But it is necessary whenever you're going through and doing a hi-fi receive in order to be able to check your bandwidth across the receive frequency, or the transmitted frequency, I should say. There's a lot of people that they go in there, and yes, it does help, but it also creates and tends to give you a lot more bleed over. There's a 5 megahertz crystal that is typically installed in these, and what happens is a lot of people will pull those out. They'll put a 6 in there, and then you start hearing way more bleed over on another channel, plus or minus, from what you're actually wanting to hear on that one specific channel. Yes, it does give you a wider bandwidth, but it also gives you the stuff you don't want. So that's something that I have never liked installing. I've just went ahead and replaced the primary capacitors that affect the actual receive portion of this, that you're going to pick up with human ear. So, for the most part, even like the old ones, this one is definitely impressive as far as on the bandwidth out of the box. Like I said, it'll go down to 200 fairly easy. Most of them usually, top out at 250. So a little bit lower. I'd like to see it go just a little bit more as far as for, the hi-fi side of it. But otherwise, very impressive, Or Nova. Yeah. All righty, guys. Well, hopefully you enjoyed this. Like I said, I just wanted to kind of show you as far as from, opening the box essentially all the way through one that's actually tuned up. There again, it's by choice as far as what what you want to have done with one of these. I've showed you as far as just base, basically right out of the box, what these are going to do, which will do, fairly decent, without having to spend the money for a peak and tune. Just take it apart, install your one little piece, turn the radio back on, bada bing, bada boom, and you're up and off to the races. If you want to go ahead and go a couple steps further, for example, what you've seen here, to get the RMS up, that is something that can also be done. So, again, I'm pretty pleased with it as far as overall. Call me if I got the time. Yep. Tell you what, I'll give you a call here in just a minute early as soon as we close out this video. I'll give you a quick call and I'll get started on this other radio, get it done, so that I can finish up the other 2 amps yet tonight. So, all right, guys, take care. Hope you enjoyed the time. I know I did with you. Have a great evening.